what's up? So this is going to be another discussion slash kind of rant video, and it's going to be about something that you saw I already posted about on my channel, and it is the recent article and news story about George Lucas's ex-wife Marcialucas talking about how she didn't like the Star Wars sequel trilogy and how she thinks that J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy, quote, don't get it, as in don't understand Star Wars. And as you can imagine, and predictably, the Fandom Menace have already made a ton of videos praising her and using her words as proof that nobody likes the sequel trilogy, and using it as evidence that Disney has destroyed or ruined Star Wars, which isn't surprising. Right when I read the article, I knew it was going to happen. Because that's what the Fandom Menace does, and that's actually going to be the main focus of this video. It's not going to be about just marcialucas' comments. It's going to be about, in general, how and why the Fandom Menace uses the words of celebrities to push their anti-Star Wars slash anti-progressive agenda and narrative, which is something that they accuse us and accuse the left of doing, yet they're equally as guilty, if not more so, of doing it. First of all, to give you some background and context, Marcialucas used to be obviously married to George Lucas and has a pretty important role in Star Wars history because she was one of the 3 editors on A New Hope, besides Richard Chew and Paul Hirsch. And all 3 of them actually won an Oscar for Best Editing at the 1978 Oscars, the year after A New Hope came out. And that's important to know because before A New Hope even came out, like when it was first put together, like when the first cut was made, before the 3 of them came on to do the editing, A New Hope was a structural mess because there were a lot of scenes that ended up getting deleted from the final movie that were super long and sort of dragged the movie down to a halt, and there were a lot of visual and special effects shots that George Lucas didn't like because they didn't really look convincing. Like if you watch the mini documentary Star Wars The Lost Cut, or the video How Star Wars Was Saved in the Edit, those videos perfectly explain what I'm talking about. Like if you want more information, I'll leave those videos in the description. But anyway, so yeah, that's really why Marcialucas is so important to Star Wars history, and I have the utmost respect for her for basically saving A New Hope from being a structural mess. And the sad part is, after that, you know, when her and George Lucas divorced shortly before Return of the Jedi came out, after that, he kind of erased her from Star Wars history and didn't really acknowledge her. You know, didn't really acknowledge her part in making A New Hope such a success. And in that sense, I can kind of feel bad for her because, you know, she's one of many things that helped make that movie so good. But on the flip side, her saying that J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy don't get Star Wars, and that, you know, she was pissed that Luke and Han were killed off and that they shouldn't have been, that's where I take issue with her. I don't disrespect her herself. I just think that by saying those things, you know, by attacking JJ and Kathy and complaining that Luke and Han died, that, in my opinion, screams of attention seeking and says to me that, you know, she was just saying that to be edgy, you know. Now, I'm not calling her a Fandom Menacer, but what sucks is that the Fandom Menace, you know, bitch about those things and continue to bitch about them and say them and continue to attack Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Ryan Johnson, Pablo Hidalgo, and basically anybody involved with making this new Star Wars content. And it's pathetic. It really is pathetic. Because the fact of the matter is, it's not like Kathleen Kennedy and all of them did anything wrong. You know, they didn't do anything wrong personally to Marcia or to the Fandom Menace. Yet, especially the Fandom Menace treats them like they're criminals. You know what? I'm going to pose this question to any Fandom Menacer that happens to be watching this video. If you made a Star Wars movie, and if half of the fan base attacked you and constantly harassed you for years, claiming that you ruined Star Wars and claiming that you ruined and or raped their childhoods with your movie, how would you feel? You would feel pretty hurt, right? You would feel dehumanized and powerless and depressed. So, think about how Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams, Pablo Hidalgo, and all the Lucasfilm employees that the Fandom Menace has attacked feel. Think about how they feel when they get this constant harassment from the Fandom Menace. Really, there's no evidence to prove that Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, all of them, there's no proof that they're terrible people and that they've committed a crime. The only reason the Fandom Menace doesn't like them is because they made a series of movies that the Fandom Menace just didn't like. Now, granted, I said it before and I'll say it again. Granted, there is nothing wrong with not liking a movie. Specifically the Star Wars sequel trilogy. There's nothing wrong with not liking it. You're more than allowed to not like it. Contrary to what some Fandom Menacers think about me, I have no problem with criticisms and dislike for the sequel trilogy. In fact, some of the popular criticisms I agree with. Like the supporting characters in Last Jedi not really being interesting, and the second act of Last Jedi kind of dragging the movie down because of Canto Bight being the least interesting storyline. Some of the humor kind of overshadowing some of the more dramatic moments, some of the inconsistencies in the plot. And with Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine being brought back for no reason other than nostalgia, and Rey getting revealed to be his granddaughter. You know, those are some of my major issues. And as with Force Awakens, the constant rehashing of moments from A New Hope and the original trilogy in general. And again, if you dislike the sequel trilogy, that's fine. If you have legit constructive criticisms, I'll listen to you. But when you say stupid, childish things like Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams ruined Star Wars and ruined and or raped your childhood, and that they don't care about Star Wars and that they're just pushing a feminist SJW agenda, and that behind the scenes they hate each other and that they're being fired like Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, and that Rian Johnson's trilogy has been canceled, and that Favreau and Filoni hate Kathleen Kennedy and they're trying to rebel against her, and that they did with putting Luke in Mandalorian, you know, all those fake BS rumors. When you make up shit like that with no primary source, with no evidence, and when you say childish things like that they personally harmed you, that's when I'm going to take issue with you, and when I'm going to make fun of you for having no evidence and for acting like a child. Because that's literally what the Fandom Menace does all the time. They are so blinded by their hatred for these movies that they refuse to acknowledge any good with them and pretend and act as though that those who made and enjoy them are evil and that they've ruined Star Wars in their eyes, when that's not a fact. That's just their point of view, as Obi-Wan would say. And it's honestly ridiculous that I have to repeat this. But anyway, the main point of this video is how the Fandom Menace uses things like marcialucas' comments to push this false narrative that everybody hates the Star Wars sequel trilogy, including those making it, and that nobody likes it, which is wholly untrue. Because since The Rise of Skywalker, I've actually noticed a ton of positivity continuing to grow for the trilogy overall, and even specifically Rise of Skywalker. Like, since it came out, I've started to notice a lot of fans who like it. And even though I personally don't, that's fine. You know, I have nothing against those who like it. But the point of this video is how the Fandom Menace will tell only one side of a story when it comes to Star Wars, and will only focus on the negative rather than the positive. And that is, in a nutshell, propaganda. Not just Marshall Lucas, but with George Lucas in this one online interview he did with the school, in which he said,
I've kind of lost control of Star Wars, so it's going off in a different path than what I intended. But the first 6 are very much mine.
The Fandom Menace twisted that into George saying that he hates the sequels and that he doesn't approve of them, and that they're not, quote, his Star Wars, and that him saying those things was him subtly throwing shade at Kathleen Kennedy specifically. That's what the Fandom Menace believed, and they presented it as fact, when in reality it's not a fact. That's just what he said, and that's just his opinion. Objectively, he's saying that he doesn't know where Star Wars is going to go in the future because he's not in charge. Yet, whenever the Fandom Menace gets the opportunity, they'll twist the words of people. And before George Lucas, they did it with Mark Hamill, saying that his fundamentally disagreeing with Luke Skywalker's portrayal in Last Jedi was Mark saying that he hates the movie and hates Rian Johnson specifically, and that they hate each other, and that Ryan tried to censor Mark from criticizing the movie, and specifically criticizing Luke's portrayal, which I've shown in clips is not true, because in interviews and in tweets and in the behind-the-scenes documentary, The Director and the Jedi, both Mark and Ryan clarify that yes, they had issues, but they don't hate each other. And Mark specifically clarified that after he told Ryan that he disagreed with Luke's portrayal, you know, after he saw the movie in December, he came around to it.
But again, I mean, I have to say, having seen the movie, I was wrong. I came to really believe that Ryan was the exact man that they needed for this job.
And of course, the Fandom Menace twisted that into saying, oh no, Disney's bribing Mark Hamill, they're bribing him. They're just trying to censor him and silence him and pay him off to say positive things about The Last Jedi. When Mark himself confirmed in a tweet that Lucasfilm nor Disney has paid him or told him to say anything. And Mark has also clarified that he does not hate Ryan, he just disagreed with him. And fact of the matter is, in real life, and in any movie, filmmakers disagreeing on things does not equal hatred. Fact of the matter is, creative differences and disagreement happen all the damn time in the filmmaking process, and that's a reality that the Fandom Menace refuse to accept because it goes against their indoctrination and brainwashing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Fandom Menace is nothing but a cult, and nothing but a circle jerk made up of people who are basically children in adult bodies. And to come back to making up information, they blindly believe sources that have no credible evidence and are really hearsay and secondary sources, and rumors from alleged inside sources that never turn out to be real, specifically Doomcock and mikezeroh, to name two primary examples. How the Fandom Menace praise Doomcock and praise mikezeroh for their videos and for their supposed leaks and rumors, even though they get away with it by saying this is just a rumor or take this with a grain of salt. But the thing about rumors, you have to have some evidence to support them, to make them seem credible. And the fact is, when you use common sense, and when you use evidence from people working within Lucasfilm, and behind the scenes info from these movies, and in general from Star Wars content creators, there is no evidence to support those leaks and rumors. And another source of information that the Fandom Menace blindly believe, despite them not being credible, is this screenwriter named Kamranpasha, who told Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers in a live stream, quote, "I do have people who know that George Lucas hates The Last Jedi and he's terrified by what's happened." And in that live stream, you could just see on Jeremy's face that he was just eating it up, that he was so happy to hear something negative from George Lucas about The Last Jedi. You could tell he was just like, oh my god, yes, George Lucas hates Last Jedi, yes, he's on our side, woo, we're right, we're owning the libs, we're owning the SJWs, we're owning the fake Star Wars fans. And what's weird is that Kamranpasha says he knows people who know that George Lucas hates the movie, yet he never said he heard it from George Lucas himself. So by getting your information from other people, that's not credible. That's a secondary source. That's hearsay. Just like mikezeroh and Doomcock. I went to Instagram and confronted Kamranpasha directly about this live stream he did with Jeremy, and he gave me this BS excuse that if I reveal my sources, I could damage or compromise their careers, which is such a stupid excuse and was clearly him deflecting. And I confronted him about it, and I said, well, if your sources were credible, and if George Lucas actually hated The Last Jedi, you would have heard it directly from his own mouth. And did you? No, because you said you had people who claimed that they heard him say it. And when I said that, he didn't reply. And Grace Randolph, aka beyondthetrailer, is guilty of doing the same thing too. She recently got called out by James Gunn for spreading a false rumor about Bane in some new DC show or in James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Yeah, James Gunn himself debunked her, and an actress in DC working in a DC movie or show recently debunked her too, and she couldn't deal with it. She just threw a little temper tantrum on Twitter saying, no, my inside sources are credible, they gave me leaked scripts, I said this months ago, it's just a rumor, it could be true, could be not. They always deflect by making the excuse that it's just a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. So again, my point with this video is just the Fandom Menace will literally do anything to prove their side of the story, even if it means ignoring the other side and ignoring contradictory evidence or evidence that flat out debunks their claims, because they can't deal with it. Because deep down, they know that if their claims and rumors get debunked, they will lose subscribers or lose their attention and lose attention. And attention and money through their subscribers and views is what they value more than anything else. So yeah, that's my thoughts and my explanation of how and why the Fandom Menace use celebrities and twist the words of certain people to push propaganda. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching. Bye.